We're in Ariel, New Jersey today, and we just learned something that stopped us in our tracks. 15 minutes. That's how close this horse came to never seeing another sunrise. 15 minutes from the slaughter truck, when somebody decided his life was worth saving. And that somebody? A woman who spent years fighting for her own life, and a Marine who came home from Iraq carrying things he couldn't put down. They didn't just save a horse that day, they built a sanctuary. They named him Rescue, but as it turns out, he wasn't the only one being saved. For animals nobody wanted, and for veterans and first responders who needed somewhere quiet to find their way back. This is Circle S, Second Chance Ranch, and this is Hilary and Kevin's story. Welcome to Back Roads and Front Porches, where the stories of small-town America come to life. Now, I have to be honest with you. When we pulled in here, past the sign, down that long drive, we didn't know exactly what to expect. But that flag told us something right away. Somebody here takes that seriously. And when Lassie took one look at the backyard, she made herself right at home. Honestly, I can't say I blame her. Because the moment you set foot on this property, something shifts. It's quiet in a way that doesn't feel empty. It feels intentional. Like this land was always meant to hold something worth saving. We were about to find out just how much.
So when we bought the property in March of 24, we didn't have any experience in raising horses. We had raised chickens for a few years and knew about raising chickens, and that was about it. To give you the backstory, we lived down the road for 15 years and always dreamed about getting this property. And in 2024, we were able to make that happen. And it came with one horse, and we needed to get him a friend because horses are companion animals, right?
I would say our first horse, who actually was not a rescue, he was on the property with the previous owners. And he really kind of taught me so many things about myself, about horses in general. When we moved here, he was the only horse left. And so I had asked the owner, what are your plans with him? And he kind of was like, I don't really know. And I was like, well, can he just stay? Because I love horses. And I would love for him to just stay. He's lived here all his life. Why do God knows what? Mm-hmm. And he said, sure. And he passed away the following Memorial Day. When he passed away, it really dawned on me how he taught me so many things. He was an older horse. He just passed away from old age, and he was my first interaction with owning a horse. And he taught me just unbelievable things, just about how, so many things about myself. They say that horses are a mirror to you. So, and I say that's why they're so amazing for our vets, because sometimes we'll see a horse acting up with one of our vets, and I'll kind of say to them, you tell me that you're not stressed, and you tell me that you're feeling okay today, but that horse is telling me otherwise, because he's responding to how you're feeling on the inside. And that's really what Final, that horse, did for me. He really just taught me that even though I feel like I'm fine and I say I'm fine, the way he's responding to me tells me otherwise. I'm feeling anxious today, or I'm struggling with my control issues, or whatever it is, and I need to really kind of walk away from that horse, Final, and I need to come back to him calmer and peaceful and get myself together in order to be in his presence, because otherwise he doesn't want anything to do with me. And if you don't know what you're doing, you got to figure it out real quick, because they know. He's very grouchy and set in his ways and old, and he would tell me about myself every day. I came in here like, oh, I just want to squeeze you and hug you and just love you. And he was like, girl, you got things to learn,
So the original name of the property was Circle S. I don't think that the guy who originally owned it, Mr. Seiler, he had passed away a number of years ago, and I bought the property off of his son. And there's a sign that I had that was up at the front. It's actually in the barn right now that said Circle S. And so that was the name that Sam had called it. And so when we got the property, I kind of wanted to continue keeping Circle S, being as our last name also starts with an S, just like his, and it made sense. And Sam was actually I only met him a few different times. He had gotten older and stuff, but he did a lot for our community too. There's actually a park named after him with things. He was on town council for a lot, and he was an Army veteran. He was retired as a lieutenant colonel, and so I kind of wanted to keep that. I thought it would be cool to be able to kind of extend the the lineage, if you will, of the ranch name. But my wife didn't really. She kind of wanted Second Chance Ranch, and because it kind of explained more of the story of what we wanted to do, and a little bit more about just our story, if you will. And so I said, you know what, then we're going to blend it all together with everything. So we have Circle S, Second Chance Ranch, and that's where we got it from.
Nice.
And we would drive by this property all the time and like dream about it, you know? So us being able to move here was a second chance kind of for us, because we were able to just experience what this life really can be like. It's completely opposite from what we were living before. Like praying to God, like give me like something, give me a name that will withstand time, you know, it'll speak to us and it'll be our story, but it will tell so many stories within itself, you know. You'll kind of know what you're getting when you read this name, you know. But I really wanted something that spoke of us and also of the animals, and just wanted it all to come together, you know. And I remember hearing, you know, what about Second Chance Ranch? And I was like, oh my gosh, I love that, because it kind of tells the story in the name.
So when the decision was to buy this and do that, we had always wanted horses and had some minimal experience with, you know, riding, but not anything to the degree of caring for them. But we were up for the challenge, and we, you know, in being able to get the property, it was God's plan to give us this property, and that was part of the thing, and why we wanted to give back with everything was that just to continue to share that blessing with it. And we thought, well, you know what, listen, we're here, we've been provided this, then we'll continue to be provided it from there. And you know, and it was just funny, like I said, God has a plan, right? So some of the different people that you've known for 7-8 years, we had one, our good friends, Katie, our sons played on a baseball team together, and we bought the property, and Katie's like, you know, I trained horses for 7 years. And we're like, no, I didn't know you trained horses. Because it never came up in conversation, right? Like, you're playing baseball, and the kids are playing this, and we were talking about it. Training horses never came up. I don't know a horse. Why would that come up in conversation, right? But now you realize that, oh, this, you know, and all these different things in place. One of the volunteers that I have that comes over all the time, and it's actually cool, because when I used to teach lead in the schools, she was one of my students in the lead program, and now she's one of my volunteers that comes over and rides the horses and stuff. She was a big horse person, and it's just different people that all came into place that wanted to help. We ended up the farrier we had at the time said, hey, you know, this rescue, this guy looks pretty good. I don't know if you guys have ever thought about rescuing a horse, but he looks pretty good, you know, and you could take a shot on him. Just, you don't really have a lot of time to make the decision. I think it was a Wednesday night when she texted us that, and it was Friday at noon that he was going to be shipping out for slaughter. And I said, oh, all right. They kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit, and thinking, you know, I don't really know a lot about one horse to then you get along, get two. Like, how am I gonna, you know? And so I said, well, let's just pray about it and just see, like, hopefully somebody else takes him, and kind of like see what the deal is. So fast forward to Friday, it's like 11:45 Friday, and it's like, hey, did you guys make a decision? Like, nobody else got him. And I'm like, and I remember looking at him, and that's rescue. And if you look at his left eye on it, and it is sort of a trait in standardbreds, but his left eye, you could see kind of the white around his eye, and it just looks scared in this photo. And I said, I got to help him, right? So I'm like, let's get him. So we grabbed him, had no idea how we were getting him back. He was all the way out the western side of Pennsylvania, all the way out near Ohio. So he was 6 hours away. I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to get this horse back. I don't have a horse trailer. Like, I don't know anything. But we just pulled him, you know. So I'm like, he's safe. All right, great. Now we got to figure out how we're getting him back. And I'm talking with a woman who had pulled him, who was like networking with this stuff, and she just happened to have somebody who was coming from Woodstown, a different place that had also pulled a horse from out there. So she put us in touch with them, and they actually went and picked him up for us because they were picking up a horse for them, and then they dropped him off to us. And if we can help maybe just a few people, that's okay. That's fine. The same way that we wanted to help, for example, rescue the very first one we got. I remember saying to my wife, kind of that old starfish adage, you know, kid on the beach, and there's a whole bunch of starfish, and he picks up the one, and he starts throwing them all back, and the old man says to him, "You kid, you can't save them all." And he goes, "I know, I can't save them all, but I can save this one." And he picks up that last starfish, and he throws it back in the ocean. It's the same thing we thought of when we were looking at rescue, was that I can't save them all, but I've been able to save these 7 to date, right? Plus the other animals that we have.
So that in itself is a second chance. And then when we, you know, we've always like, hi, Collie. We have always had the mentality that animals, why not rescue them? You know, they're just, all of our cats and dogs were rescues, and we fostered a couple of cats from our local animal shelter, things like that. So it was just natural for us when we moved here to want to offer, you know, we thought to ourselves, I don't know anything about horses, but there have to be some that you would rescue, right? I don't know. And it just opened up this whole world that we didn't know anything about. I mean, we had no idea that horses were in, hundreds of horses were in small spaces and auctions, and there were people coming that they call kill buyers that sell them for meat. I mean, I never thought that, it never dawned on me that other people in different countries eat horse meat. Just never would have thought. Once we got rescue, our first horse, it just kept snowballing, like you had said, you know, second chances for all of us. But also it just, like I say to Kevin, I see horses show up every day that need a home, but there were just, each of these horses we had a connection with before we even saw them in the flesh. So it's just amazing to see how like God really did kind of give them to us. So.
The horse that came with the property passed away a few months later, and then we were back at square one. So then we picked another rescue, which is Goose, the second one, and that's kind of where it all just started from then. And then the next one that came after that was Banks, and then after Banks came Bunny, and then came Cole. Cole and Linda came like a week apart. I kind of get them confused sometimes as to which came first, but I think it was Cole, then Linda, and then the most recent one that we got was Honey. As well. So 3 of the 7 were directly saved from slaughter, and then all 4, the rest of the other 4 were saved from going to auction.
When do you get Maverick?
Well, it depends. I mean, I didn't intend to do that, but someone did say, they're like, hey, you should. I'm like, you know what, that's actually not a bad idea. But everyone else that we've gotten that came in has already had a name, and they worked really well with them. Like we didn't rename Cole. That was his name, and he will respond to his name from the field, so I can't change that at that point in time. But one of the things that we talk about is saving horses from slaughter.
Right.
And about how outside of the United States, like, people eat horse. And it's one of those things that you heard, but you kind of always thought to yourself, like, what, do this? Is it like,
is it real?
Is it legit, right? And the German woman, she's like, oh no, that's horse is a delicacy in Germany. Like, that's fact. And it just kind of was interesting to really hear that from, no pun intended, the horse's mouth, right? That, yeah, this is what's the case. And because 80% of the horses that get slaughtered in Canada get shipped for export, for meat sales overseas. There is no slaughter in the United States anymore. So when the horses are in danger for slaughter, they're getting shipped either to Mexico or to Canada. And I don't remember the exact statistics, but the numbers. But the amount of horses that get slaughtered for meat that have nothing wrong with them is rather high. Like, this is Cole. Cole's an 8-year-old thoroughbred. He has a severe case of kissing spine, so he's no longer rideable. because his vertebrae will touch and he will be in pain. But he's a fantastic horse, very loving and really good, and he's absolutely beautiful when he goes in the round pen. He actually makes me look at him when he runs and gallops in the round pen. I'm like, I wouldn't even want to ride you. You're way too fast for me. But he came to us from a woman that runs a riding school, and having a horse that's not rideable is not really a viable option at a riding school. But she was very upset to have to even make the decision because he was such a great horse. And before they noticed the kissing spine, before they noticed some of the symptoms with that, he had been in some shows. His daughter had won some shows with him and stuff. I mean, he's just a great horse. Because he does fine for the rest of our therapy sessions and stuff, because all of our equine assisted support program is not riding based. It's all ground horsemanship. So with that being the case, none of them have to get ridden. So Cole, who can't be ridden, he does fine in that program. Linda, the tricolor paint, she's never been ridden. She was a broodmare for a while, and she's 25, so you're not going to put a saddle on a 25-year-old and start doing it at this point in time. And then Banks, her boyfriend, next to him, he's 29. He actually has the most amount of training out of any of the horses we have. He was a professionally trained. He did dressage and jumping and stuff. He was born in Belgium and brought to the U.S., and the family ended up losing their farm, and they were going to give him to auction at 27. 27 years old, a horse is not going to fare well in the auction with that. So we were able to get him and save him from going down that fate, because that's Goose. Goose is he's a little bit of a ham. He's probably upset that he's not on camera right now. You want to turn around and do that, and we could shoot some camera with him.
Yeah, interview Goose.
Goose, when you came here, what is one of the first things that you liked about coming to this ranch from your old house? Very profound words. Goose has the personality where he's in charge. He's always looking. If everyone else is laying down, he's standing up. And he's standing up watching out for everyone else while they're taking a little nap. And it's kind of cool to see when Goose finally lets his guard down and he lays down to take a nap, who's going to stand over, watch over him to make sure that he's good. And it's usually Cole or Rescue. Rescue and him have been here the longest, so they're like brothers.
It really, just as far as the animals go, they each have a story. Our animals do have a story. So, our pig, she was rescued by her previous owner at an auction, and she was teeny tiny at the time, obviously 500 pounds. She's not anymore. But then, she stayed with a friend who they did homesteading, and they tried to breed her out of 2 pregnancies. She only had 1 viable piglet. And so Second Chance Ranch, that is her story.
What's it mean, giving animals a second chance?
For me, I guess the biggest thing, like you said, is just being in recovery and knowing what it feels like to have my own second chance. I think that it's kind of twofold. So first, just being able to get married sober and have children sober, and go through life on life's terms sober. For me, that is absolutely a second chance. Not very proud of the person that I was pre-sobriety, and so I'm really glad that I get to live out the rest of my life on the up and up, I guess we can say. I just think that everybody deserves a second chance. I think it speaks to us just with our own selves, Kevin being a vet and having been in Iraq, getting the chance to kind of come home. A lot of vets don't get to come home. And then for us, with my recovery, and then I had an opportunity to kind of turn things around at a young age. And I'm grateful for that. My kids didn't have to watch me struggle.
So I've been a police officer for over 16 years. I've been a first responder for over 20 years. I first started as a volunteer fireman and did that for a number of years. And then I enlisted in the Marine Corps at 18. Served in the Marine Corps. I did a combination of active duty time and reserve time, totaling around 8.5 years. Deployed to Iraq in 2006 and 7, and then came into law enforcement upon coming home from that, and I've been working in law enforcement since. For me and my story, it took me a long time from being home from overseas, dealing with everything as a first responder, to finally kind of realize that, hey, maybe there's some issues, like that you might need to like talk to people about and everything, and there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Mhm.
So what I kind of realized was that that was something that was okay, and so I had finally started doing that and saw the benefits of it, right? And this was actually before we had started with owning the ranch and everything. Fast forward to when we now have the ranch, and now I find my time, spending time with the horses, and I see the benefits of it myself firsthand. And that's really where I said, listen, I can benefit from this, and I can say this, I can testify to this being the case from my own personal experience, not just hearing it from somebody else. And the thing is, with our communities of vets and first responders, is that you need to hear it from one of your brethren, if you will. 3rd Battalion, 14th Marines.
Okay.
I had gone in to go into the reserves so that I could go to college and I could do all that stuff, remember, because I still wanted to be a police officer and everything. And I was like, oh, I'll go to college. I'll do everything. And I went in, and as soon as I got done boot camp, I came out, I checked into my unit, and they're like, hey, we're going to Iraq. Like, you're going back out. So I went back out. So like the plan that I had gone into, that I had enlisted for, didn't end up happening. I spent my first 2.5 years on active duty. I truly think that the horses enjoy it. Each one of the horses has, each one of our veterans or first responders that come, they all have sort of a horse that they gravitate to. And I feel that at this point in time, since running the program for several months, that the horses also kind of recognize that person, and they like them. And I think they get just as much enjoyment out of it as the veterans and first responders do. One of the things that I noticed in there was the similarities between veterans and first responders. The two career fields, if you will, have such similarities between what veterans have experienced or can potentially experience and what first responders experience, that the two seem to just blend seamlessly. And in fact, a lot of the veterans that we do have also, beyond their military career, have gone into a public safety, law enforcement, first responder type field. Really cool to see how the two just blend pretty seamlessly because of the like experiences and the like personality type traits, really, between a lot of the people themselves. People that want to join something to help people bigger than themselves, And then using that same idea of going into the veterans, I can't save everyone, but if I can make a difference in a couple, right, then that's huge. And my wife has a background in addictions counseling. She was an addictions counselor for a number of years and still runs a recovery group on Fridays. I remember when I first started, I remember I was at the FOP hall, and I'm having lunch, and I'm talking with a guy, Joe, that I've worked with for a long time. And we're talking about something, and Joe was in the Air Force. He's a couple years older than me, but very similar, like, he was actually on the Air Force security teams, working with the Air Force One and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. He had a pretty awesome career in the Air Force with things. It was pretty neat. But we're talking with stuff, and he was finally talking about going to the VA and talking to somebody and putting in for his rating and different things like that. And I remember talking with him, and we started talking about different things and some of the stuff, and I started realizing, I do that. I do. And then it kind of clicked, and it was like, yeah, how about that, right? I mean, it's been years, right? But you realized, well, I've been dealing with it for 15 years, right? And it's like, now, but that's okay, right? And some of those things, it takes time for it to, I don't want to say manifest, but it takes time for you to recognize some of the symptoms and warning signs, if you will, where you realize, hey, you know what? Yeah, that maybe that. Oh, you. Most people don't do that. Oh, how about that? And with our job, being first responders too, the impact between things can really, there's a lot that's there, but there's other behaviors that are not really healthy with everything. When you think about things like, uh, reacting to different things, to the snapping, the explosions, if you will, with things. That's the stuff that you realize. Okay, well, maybe that's something that, like, yeah, maybe I don't need to have that type of a reaction to things.
You were in the military. You're a vet.
Yes, sir.
Which branch?
I was in the United States Marine Corps.
Okay.
Scout sniper. Served in Desert Storm and Somalia 2 times.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, it's everything. It's camaraderie with the other guys that come here, and plus learning things to put on your tool belt to help you when you go out in the real world, to steady your brain, steady your mind and your body, and help you through sometimes tough times. Come here because it's life-changing. I mean, all you just have an open mind and come here, and it'll teach you something that you can use.
How long have you, how'd you find out about this program?
My wife volunteers at the police department too, and she knows Kevin, and he kind of mentioned that they were going to start this like a year ago. So I just was like, well, let's go check it out, and been here ever since.
Nice.
And I retired 3 years ago from law enforcement.
Okay.
I told him, I was like, you could come here, and I'm telling you, it'll change your brain into thinking that you're normal. You're not abnormal.
Right. Awesome. Do you have one that you've kind of bonded with?
Cole, kind of. We bonded because, like, when I saw him first, he was always out by himself and everything, and like away from the pack, and I kind of thought that that's how I was sometimes. So
Okay.
just to try to be by myself and everything, and then we just started basically doing everything together, and it works. Sometimes he doesn't want to do it, so I got to walk him around here, and I sing cadences to him while I'm walking around in circles.
Nice.
But it's a great, I mean, this place is fantastic. I live like 5 minutes from here. I've been down this road a million times, never would have known. Like,
We talk about a lot of the veterans that served in Iraq, Afghanistan, whatnot, dealing with PTSD. How do horses in your equine program benefit veterans?
So there's a lot of scientific research that kind of goes into equine therapy and equine support programs with veterans and PTSD, but I'll explain it the easiest I can. And it might not be as scientific, if you will, with things, but basically horses have a larger heart, right? And they would all, people would say, well, horses really have 5 hearts, right? Meaning their actual heart. They only really have 1 heart, just for clarification. They have 1 heart, but they say they have 5 hearts because each one of their hooves, right, as they step down, that helps generate blood to pump through their body with everything, right? So they say horses have 5 hearts, and just plain meaning the fact that they have a bigger heart, right? But their heart rate beats slower. Okay. And they're very unique animals in the sense that when you're around them, you're going to become in sync with them, and you're going to find your heart rate going down as well. So like I usually wear a Fitbit, but if anyone has any type of like a smart tracker, and you actually were to look at it and do it, you could see it actually kind of dropping down. It's pretty cool when you've ever seen it. But the reality of it is just that being around them, and they're peaceful beings. It's a bit of a challenge too. When you think about it, I don't care how big and bad you think you are, you might be 300 pounds and all muscle. He's 1,400 pounds. He's about 1,200 pounds. You're not as big as you think you are, right? And so regardless of how you are, now you're kind of coming and dealing with these animals, and you kind of have to start matching your tempo to them and start slowing down, because you don't want to get kicked or something like that, or get stepped on or nipped at or something like that, any of that, right? Just basic human instinct when you're going up and dealing with an animal that's of this size, where you're going to start kind of calming yourself down. That's actually subconsciously working on yourself, right? To start bringing yourself down with it and getting yourself under control. And then what we work on in our equine assisted support program is recognizing some of those different symptoms. Some of the very first programs that we do is putting a person in the round pen by themselves with 6 of the horses and just seeing how you're reacting to it. Now, it's all safe and monitored and everything, obviously, but it can be a little bit of an experience and make people feel a little bit uncomfortable, not knowing what's going to go on. But once you realize that, once I can kind of just make sure that I myself am under control, they're okay with it, right? Horses naturally are prey animals, so they are a little bit cautious of everything that's going on around them, but they're not aggressive in the sense that they're going to go and try to take out something, right? They're going to be kind of calm. So as long as you can match their calmness and show that you're not a threat towards anything, and there's no reason for them to be worried about something, they're just going to keep grazing and keep doing their thing. Being able to shut off everything else that's going on outside and being able to focus on the present, right? And recognizing different things within yourself that might make you uneasy or tense in a situation, that you can bring that under control. And so when we decided that we were going to do our nonprofit, and we decided, well, what is the purpose of our nonprofit, right? What are we going to do? And we said, well, the purpose, first and foremost, is saving these animals, right, from the danger of facing slaughter or facing the auction. And we said, okay, that's the first mission. But then what are we doing next, right? Horses need a job. They need to be doing something. As much as they like being pasture ponies and walking around eating grass and stuff, they like to have purpose. And so that's when the second part of our mission came in the fact of using our horses for an equine assisted support program for veterans and first responders, right? We wanted to be able to say, you know what, let's give them a new home, give them a new purpose by having them help others who have already served us and our communities, our country, and, being able to give back to them.
Last question.
Yeah.
Because you're cold, we're cold.
Yes.
If there were one thing you could say to, I know you're focused on first responders, vets. If there were one thing you could say to somebody that's watching it that's struggling, what would you say to them?
I would say, just come. Just come. As you are. I remember the first day that I went to my first meeting, and it took me months to walk in. In fact, I had to have somebody meet me in the parking lot so I would follow through. And I remember that day, and I hope I never forget that day, because I was terrified and I didn't know what to expect, and I was nervous. And so if there's somebody out there that is struggling, I would say just come. We get it.
Somebody that's a veteran or a first responder that's out there struggling, what would you say to them?
If you were a veteran, or if you know a veteran or a first responder who's struggling, or you think is struggling with anything, just send them over to us. They can come over to our program. It's free. I would say to walk in the door. You don't have to know anything about horses. You don't have to know anything about anything, okay? But walking through the door is the first thing, and is the hardest thing to do. And that's what is also unique and why I like doing these things and speaking with it, because I say it from my own personal experience. That walking through the door and realizing maybe I need to go and talk to somebody, and seeing the benefits of that is huge. We only have one life, and there is no point to try to live your life dealing with something. Live it to the fullest that you can. There's reasons to be out there to get help if you need help, or just some support, right? And so come on out, see what we're about, see the people that we're about. If we're not the right fit for you, maybe we can find you someplace else to go. For the veterans who are looking at this and thinking if they want to do it, if it's not doing it for you, then you're doing it for your family, because your family doesn't deserve to have to deal with some of the issues that you may or may not be experiencing with things. So if you're hesitant to go and do it for yourself, look at your family and think about the example that you want to be to your family. And if you can do it for them, then you can come and do it. So our goals are pretty much to continue what we are currently doing with our equine assisted support program and rescuing the animals, and be able to just pretty much assist any other animals that we can at different points in time. We're blessed with the property that we have, and so we're going to continue to help others at risk when the situations arise, and hopefully be able to maybe expand the amount of horses that we have, which would also allow us to increase the amount of veterans and first responders that we're able to help with our program.
Hilary and Kevin didn't set out to build something remarkable. They just kept saying yes to one more animal, one more veteran, one more person who needed somewhere to land. Rescue came 15 minutes from the end of his story. Hilary fought for 16 years to rewrite hers. Kevin carried a war home in his chest and found, somehow, that horses could help carry some of that weight. Second chances? Turns out there's enough of them to go around. This is Back Roads and Front Porches, where hometown helpers live. If you want to discover more stories, subscribe and follow along.